Hey folks, Matt Wilson, Product Manager for Threat Insights here. So for the 13.10 kickoff, we're gonna do things a little bit differently. So instead of me talking through exactly what we were gonna work on, or sometimes I like to look a little bit further out and share what we plan to work on over the next few milestones, we decided that it would be interesting to share a little bit of a new process that we were gonna try out and do a team kickoff where we walk through the boards and break it down actually from an engineering perspective to make sure that everybody is on the same page. Now, one of the things that we've been using on the team is a shared priority issue. Now, this is a little bit different than what you may see in some of the other groups. And we really thought that this was interesting because, or we're using this because we tend to work off of a mixture of epics and individual issues. So the individual issues tend to be for smaller items. We use epics for if we have a particular feature that we want to break down into multiple MVCs. Each MVC gets its own epic, and we find that it's an easier container to attach some of the different front end and back end tasks to, so it's not all kind of in one place. And we can also have a separate design issue as well. So for us, this works. This is the Threat Insights Priorities issue. You're welcome to visit and follow along if you'd like at any point. This is going to stay up to date. It's not necessarily what we will be working on in the current milestone. The idea is this is just the ordinal priority of the major feature work over the next several iterations. So as things get finished up, we'll take them off the top. If priorities change, you'll see them rearranged or inserted here below. So this is kind of the background context for what we're about to see in the video. And in fact, you'll see at the very end, there was an addition, this one right here, which is a small customer request that I really wanted to see get into 13.10, and we had sort of pushed it back, starting work for a little while. And we actually had a great group discussion about making some trade-offs in the current iteration for it so that we could slot it in. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to the other video, and I hope you enjoy.
All right. Welcome to the Threat Insights weekly group call. As a result of our retrospective discussions from 13.8, we wanted to start today with a kickoff for the 13.10 milestone. Tiago is going to walk us through those issues.
Who am I?
What are you talking about for this just before this call?
I don't know. I assumed you were going to do it. All right. Let me share my screen. So that'll give me a chance to open on my window the priorities issue for Threat Insights. So number one, Jira integration. Number two, generic security report. Number three, filter project vulnerability report by vendor name. Number four, bulk updates. Number five, dismissal types and reasons. Thank you. And everybody else can read now for themselves. So back to the...
Yeah, Matt keeps us up to date, and it's cross milestone.
So back to the board, starting with blocked. We have that MR refactor at the top, waiting on something else to unblock it. The Jira, which is the number of priorities, so maybe that should be at the top, Lindsay. Feature flag, thank you. Then the third one is about the generic schema, and it's blocked by something else. MR refactor, I think yeah, it's right. It's below the generic schema. And then all the other issues below that, I believe, are related to a technical debt epic to remove project fingerprint and to remove raw metadata. So two different epics there. And then at the bottom, that is priority number 5, dismissal types.
Yeah, so that should come up as well. So Tiago and I switched, we've been kind of back and forth about how we're indicating that something's blocked between just having it in the ready for development with it indicated that it's blocked by having a blocker issue. We pulled all of those items into this blocked column just before this call. So if you're wondering why those moved around, we'll have to make sure that we catch when they're unblocked and move them back into the right priority order and ready for development.
Yeah. So far, so good. So the intent of this is to cause anyone who doesn't recognize an issue or disagree with the priority to speak up. So please feel free to interrupt me as I'm blabbering down. So now on ready for development.
And before you jump in, Tiago, I want to call out that because Tiago and I prioritize these issues, these lists separately between front end and back end, it's just sort of resulted that the back end is at the top of the list and the front end is below that. That doesn't mean these are higher priority issues. I assume that most people, when they come in, they're looking at their filtered list and they see just front end or back end, and then you would see the correct priority in that sense.
Correct. Thank you for that. Should we do that?
Does that make, do you want to start with back end so we can?
Yeah,
okay.
I think, yeah. We're learning here, so we'll see if this works, and then we tweak the format. It's the first time we're doing this. So in ready for development for the backend, the first one is enabling, I believe, the priority number 3, the filter project vulnerability report. So that's in there, so we can unblock the front end. The second one, dismissal, so that's priority number 5. Again, it's there so we can unblock the front end. The third one is a priority 2 bug. So it's it goes in there. Then we have a priority 3 bug that's in there as well. Then that is a technical debt, so it's not in Matt's list of priority. Then vulnerability management, that's technical debt in terms of documentation. So again, not in the list of priority. Then there's a technical spike, but I do believe this is Andy's.
Yeah, we need to find a way to get some attention because we bumped it from one milestone to another for quite a while now. And I know that it's still something that we'd like to make some traction on.
Yeah.
So that's like.
And I said I wasn't going to do refinement, but just because the generic security report is a blatant absence from the ready for development, it's in there. That's the top issue there. It's just so we can do the validation. So when somebody does use that generic security report, it gets ingested and validated. Linz,
okay.
Talking stick over to you.
Feel free to interrupt and ask any questions. We just want to make sure that everybody is aware of what's being focused on and nothing's a surprise. So I do think that Tiago's done a better job of pruning down the amount of work that is in 13.10 from backend's perspective. So some of the items for the front end may need to move out to a future milestone. So just going through, I'm gonna kind of skip over the refinement. These are mostly bugs with the exception of this top issue that Daniel's been working on the plan for what this new schema should look like. And this is dependent on, the refinement of this is dependent on that spike that is in progress right now. So that's why that's sitting there. The rest of these are bugs that we hope to get into the milestone, but we do have a lot, like I said, a lot on the plate already. We've already talked a little bit about what's blocked, enabling the JIRA for vulnerabilities. This is the removal of the feature flag. So it's blocked on actually launching that feature flag, which we're very close to. This MR, we talked about the backend blocker for the MR refactor and dismissal types, both blocked on backend issues. So hopefully these are all showing in the right order here. Going down the list, we've got dismissal type work, the spike that we just talked about. some UX improvements. So we've got 2 related issues for UX improvements around making the link both to the vulnerability details page and the file in which the vulnerability was found clickable and look like links. Some improvements to the error display. And I know this is technical debt, so I know these aren't in our priority list. Some wrap-up work on the timeline chart, vulnerabilities over time, and then some more debt. I know we have work around the generic schema, but that's still in 13.9 and in progress. So, and I think that's worth just looking at because I didn't move all of the issues over from 13.9 for the front end that are in progress.
Me neither.
So just to call out that we've got a lot of the high priority issues still sitting here in 13.9 that will need to be moved, which is
for backend, anything that's in dev, in review, or anything that's not in ready for development or before, I've left it there.
It would be really nice to get to do the group by epics for this view, to be able to look at things across front end, back end. It's very slow performance wise and a little buggy, and we've got a lot of epics listed. So I think that's one area that we can improve to be a little bit more focused and not have as much going on at once. So Daniel,
Matt.
Daniel, the 2 engineers here, do you guys have any questions or concerns except for the fact that that was a lot of work? There's a lot of issues sitting there.
No, it looks pretty straightforward to me.
I will catch up. Yeah.
We got a one-on-one coming up. You can tell me, Sebastian, if you want to say while you're being recorded, and the evidence will be available to the court.
Matt, do you have any feedback or thoughts?
No, this is great. Thank you both for helping clean this up. It's going to take me a few hours to at least get caught up on what I missed the last couple of days. So if there's anything on fire, just ping me directly and I can look at it quickly. But I've had about 45 minutes of online time in the last 2 days. A lot to catch up on.
What do you and then everyone else think of this format, doing this mini kickoff? Is that useful?
Yeah, I like it. It's I want to make sure, is that going to be too much for you and Lindsay to do something like that every time? I know you did all the heavy lifting on this one.
No, we did the light lifting. We did it like 10 minutes before this meeting.
Oh, awesome.
No, we did it over the last couple of days. Ideally, I think we did well for threading sites on the container security side. I wish we could have done that same thing, but we'll do it next week. But if it's a format that people appreciate, and I like calling out the priorities so the team understands why they're working on something, and it just gives you another chance to say, hey, this isn't the wrong spot, or I don't see. And if there's something that, Matt, you believe should be in there, we can also use that to say, okay, what do you want to take out then? Like the stack is there, it's full. If you want to fit something in, what do we take out? It makes that trade-off really obvious. It's hard, it's not easy, but I think it's good.
No, I liked it. I think we had the right mix of feature work, high priority bugs, and then some of the technical debt too. I certainly don't want any of that to get out of hand. I didn't see anything that looked obviously out of place. So no, it looked great to me.
Awesome. Yeah, but in the back end, we're still struggling to clean up the leftovers from standalone vulnerability. It's only been almost a year, but we'll get there.
Hey, it took over a year to get to the point where we could actually do it, so it seems fair, right?
Fair enough. That'll take it a year to clean it up.
That's right.
Neil, any thoughts?
I love it. Yeah, so I'm here because Lindsay mentioned you were going to do a milestone kickoff today. So I love seeing that visibility, transparency. I think it's something that I've desperately been wanting for myself. So I'm happy to see what other groups are doing. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you for the feedback.
Yeah.
of the other two items that are listed there for planning breakdown, I don't foresee, and Matt, this was something I wanted to ask you about, the item 4C, the additional information in the security export. You had this tentatively slated for 13.10. We may have to look at priority and adjust if we want to still pull that in. Is that something that you want to try and do? Because if so, we should take a couple minutes and talk about that issue right now.
Now, if we're full, we can go ahead and kick that forward.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, let me look at this one again. So it was actually suggested by a customer. That was why I was trying to get it in. It did seem like it would be hopefully pretty small since we're just extending what's already there in the export. And I think that these are both pieces of information we've already got.
So we could take a look at some of the lower priority feature items, or Tiago, whether there's some technical debt that we could move out. I'm not sure. I believe this would be backend because this is all delivered from the backend API.
There's one thing for the backend that's I believe it's being refined, which is the API to manually create vulnerabilities. That is a far priority for us. That's number 8. But the reason I put it there is because it helps Dast. Could ditch that one, but there's probably tech debt that I clean up as well. So if we want to agree for this to be a deliverable, I can make room for it.
Should we take a look at it as a group right now? I don't think a lot of folks have had a chance to look at it in advance, but there's no better time than now.
Yeah. Let's pick one.
Yeah, so this is 4C on the agenda, include additional information in security dashboard export. So we've got the export button on all 3 levels of our security dashboard that just exports a certain data set. We're just adding, what are the fields that we're adding here? So
it's just the date detected, and then depending on what type of vulnerability, the location. So we'll have a location field. So it's file, path, name, line number, URL if it's an endpoint like for Dask, and for containers, we're going to get the image name and the container location. Basically exactly what we would display in the vulnerability details today.
I see no carrots in there, but I just read it and I think I understand it. So I'm carroting it. Shubash, as you probably didn't have a chance either, and I don't think you've worked with this before. I don't see this being higher than a 2. Because all the fields already exist. It's literally just adding the fields to the CSV export. There might be a little bit of, dealing there with the conditional on the location. So you can so you can serialize that correctly for the right type. Because dynamic analysis will have a URL and a path. And static analysis will be a line number somewhere. So we just need to account for that. But that's my feeling, which means, Lindsay, do you mind sharing the board so we can pick 2 points to yeet into 13.11?
Really?
Please stop that. My kids.
My daughter loves using yeet. It's her favorite word.
So is it correct that this is all back-end work?
This is all back-end work, yes.
Okay. So yeah, do you really want me to share the board so you can find your 2 points?
I can take it out. Yeah. It was just for transparency to give people a chance, but I can put it in the channel as well.
I think.
I'll put it on the channel. We are at time anyway, so let's do that.
Okay. Daniel or Sebastian, do you guys, either of you have questions about that issue or concerns from us moving it into refinement?
Yeah, so we added recently block path as well in the location in the GraphQL. Should we add block path as well? Like in the location things? No?
I mean, I guess we could. I think my intent with this one is, since all the different scanners will report location information differently, like Thiago said, we're just going to basically stringify so it'll fit in a CSV field, whatever the vulnerability detail record has in it. So if it's a block, as you say, we'll flatten the block. If it's a URL. We'll put the URL.
Thank you.
Cool. It sounds like we can move this one to refinement, Tiago.
I will.
And I think we're at the end of our call. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.